great Galactic Council had gathered. The hall was enormous, glowing with blue light. Filled with hundreds of alien species, each one sat in its floating seat, speaking in voices that echoed through the chamber. At the center stood the Speaker of the Council, his golden skin shining under the light. "The next order of business," he announced, "is the motion to deal with the human threat." A murmur rippled across the chamber. Some laughed, others growled in agreement. The humans, a small and young race from the Sol system, had grown too fast, too strong, too independent. They were not part of the council, and worse, they refused to obey its rules. Ambassador Taral of the Vortan Empire rose from his seat, his voice sharp as a blade. "Humans are dangerous," he said. "They expand too quickly. They create weapons beyond our control. They ignore our warnings." Several alien delegates nodded, their eyes glowing with approval. "Their world must be occupied before they challenge our order," Taral declared. Across the chamber, a few disagreed. Ambassador Loren of the Seraph Cluster spoke quietly. "They have never attacked us. They only defend themselves." But her words were drowned by laughter. "They are savages," hissed a reptilian voice from the shadows. "Savages with fire." The speaker raised his hand, silencing the room. "Then let us vote," he said. Lights across the chamber blinked as hundreds of delegates pressed their buttons. Within seconds, the result appeared above them. Vote passed. Operation Dawn, the invasion of Earth. There was applause, cold and proud. The council believed it had made a wise decision. They thought the humans would fall quickly. Like every other young race before them, they were wrong, far away. On a small blue world orbiting a yellow star, the news reached Earth Command. General Marcus Hale stood inside the war room, his hands resting on the table around him. Holograms of council fleets filled the air, hundreds of ships moving towards Sol. He didn't look surprised. "They finally did it," he said quietly. "They voted for war." Behind him, Admiral Chen frowned. "What are your orders?" "Sir," Marcus turned slowly, his face calm but his eyes cold. "We warned them," he said. "We told them we don't start wars, but we finish them." He looked at the glowing map again. "Activate Protocol Iron Shield." Across the solar system, hidden defense platforms came alive. Satellites unfolded massive weapons. Planetary shields began to hum. On the moon, entire bases shifted underground, revealing launch silos that had never been used. Earth, which had appeared peaceful for centuries, began to show its true face back in the council chamber. The aliens watched their fleets approach Sol. Pride filled the air. Ambassador Taral smiled. "Let us show these primitives their place," he said. His aide nodded. "The first wave will arrive at Mars within 3 rotations." But as the fleets entered human space, something strange happened. Their communication systems went dark, navigation controls froze. Ships began to drift aimlessly as if lost in an invisible storm. Then, from the darkness, a single human transmission broke through. "This is Earth Command," a voice said calmly. "You are trespassing in restricted space. Turn back or be neutralized." The alien admirals laughed. They had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. One voice could not stop them. But before they could respond, hundreds of red markers appeared on their scanners, unidentified signals surrounding them from every direction. "What are those?" one alien shouted. Then the radar officer screamed, "They're ships!" Human ships. Out of the blackness, the human fleet appeared, silent, cold, massive. Ships built not for display, but for war. Each one carried weapons the aliens had never seen, their energy signatures unreadable. The largest of them, the Resolute, moved forward, blocking the entire view of Mars on its bridge. General Marcus stood watching the alien formation. "Open the channel," he said, when his image appeared on every alien screen. The council admirals froze. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply spoke. "You voted to invade Earth," he said, his tone calm but heavy. "Now you'll understand why that was your last vote." The transmission cut. And then space exploded. Human ships fired in perfect formation, their weapons silent but devastating. Alien cruisers vanished in bursts of light. Entire fleets torn apart before they could even respond. In the council hall, chaos broke out as reports came flooding in. Entire squadrons destroyed. One officer screamed. "Their ships. They move faster than light within gravity wells," another shouted. The speaker stood frozen, his hands trembling. "What have we done?" he whispered back on Earth. Marcus watched the battle unfold with cold eyes. He knew what came next: retaliation, fear, surrender, but it didn't matter anymore. The Council had made their choice. Now, humanity would make theirs. He looked at his officers and said quietly, "Send the message across the stars." The communications officer turned. "What message, sir?" Marcus stared into the endless void. "Tell them," he said. "Humanity warned the galaxy. We showed mercy before. Not this time, the aftershock. The galaxy went silent. For the first time in centuries, the great Galactic Council had no words. Their mighty fleets had vanished within hours. Not days, not weeks, but hours. The invasion that was supposed to humble the humans had turned into a lesson written in fire. Every surviving ship limped home, burned, broken, humiliated. Some carried no crew, only silence and wreckage. The Council worlds waited for answers, but there were none. Every report said the same thing: Earth fought back. And we never stood a chance. Ambassador Tyrrell stood in disbelief. His once proud expression now replaced with horror. "They destroyed half our fleets," he whispered. "How can that be possible?" The speaker stared at the reports, his golden skin pale under the light. "They were primitive," he muttered. "They were supposed to be primitive, but deep down, he knew humanity had always been different. They had learned fast, built faster, and never stopped. Their wars, their history, their evolution, all shaped them into something unstoppable. In the far reaches of the galaxy, alien empires began to whisper. The Zorath, the Mer, the Kelevon all wondered the same thing. What had Earth been hiding all these years? And how far would humans go now that they had been provoked? On Earth, the war room was quiet. General Marcus Hale stood before the global command screen, watching the enemy signatures retreat. His officers waited for orders, unsure if the war was over or only beginning. Admiral Chen spoke first. "Sir, their main fleet is gone. Shall we pursue?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "Let them run." He turned toward the holographic projection of the Council emblem. "They need to remember this moment," he continued. "Not as a defeat, but as a warning." He walked to the window, looking out over the shining curve of Earth. "This was never about conquest," he said quietly. "It was about respect." Behind him, Commander Lewis frowned. "And if they come back," Marcus smiled faintly, "then we remind them again." Across the Sol system, the defense platform stood silent once more. Human ships returned to their orbits, repairing damage, reloading ammunition. But deep within Earth's command network, new orders were already forming. Files labeled Project Horizon and Protocol Exodus began to unlock. Humanity was preparing for something even bigger. Meanwhile, in the Council chamber, chaos turned to fear. Many demanded peace talks. Others screamed for revenge. But no one wanted to be the first to face Earth again. "The humans must be punished," one delegate cried. "Punished," another shouted back. "They destroyed fleets larger than our entire armada." The speaker slammed his fist on the table. "Enough," he roared. "We will not dissolve into panic." But his words had no power anymore. The Council that once ruled the stars now trembled under the shadow of a single world. Ambassador Liren of the Seraph Cluster rose slowly, her tone calm. "We warned you," she said. "They asked for peace and you called it arrogance. Now," she turned toward the Council, her eyes glowing faintly, "perhaps it's time we understand what humanity truly is." Her words echoed through the hall. Even the speaker said nothing. Outside, the stars seemed to shimmer as if watching silently, because everyone knew the humans were not like any other race. They were something older, stronger, and far more patient. That night, across dozens of alien worlds, a message spread through the networks. A single human broadcast, short and simple. "This is Earth Command," it said. "We did not start this war, but we ended it. Remember our warning. If you threaten humanity again, there will be no Council left to rebuild." On the outer colonies, alien civilians watched in awe. They saw human ships moving past their skies, silent, glowing, unstoppable. Some called them monsters, others called them gods. But deep inside, even the most fearful among them knew one truth. The age of the Council was over, and the age of humanity had begun. The unseen. truth deep under the surface of Earth, miles below the ground. Hidden inside the old mountains of Siberia, a door opened. Behind that door was something older than the Council itself. Rows of glowing machines, massive cylinders filled with liquid light, and structures that looked almost alive. This was the Ark Core, humanity's deepest secret. General Marcus Hale stood before it, his expression unreadable. Around him were scientists, soldiers, and artificial intelligence units working in perfect silence. "This was never meant to be used," Marcus said softly, "but the galaxy has made its choice." Dr. Evelyn Cross, head of the Ark Project, looked at him nervously. "If we activate it, there's no going back," she warned. Marcus turned to her. "They voted to invade our home," he said. "They wanted to know what lies beneath our peace." He looked at the glowing machine again. "Now they will." The Ark Core pulsed slowly, like a beating heart. Its energy signatures were impossible to read. Even for human instruments, it was not a weapon. Not exactly. It was something humanity had discovered long ago. Buried deep in the ruins of Mars, an ancient machine left by an older civilization. When the first astronauts found it, they didn't understand it. It took centuries of research to unlock even a fraction of its power. And when they did, they realized a truth that changed everything. Humanity had not evolved alone. Something had shaped them. Long before the first cities were built, Dr. Evelyn stepped closer to the core. "We used its knowledge to advance our technology," she said. "But we never told the Council." Marcus nodded. "Because we knew what they would do." He turned toward the giant holographic map of the galaxy. "Every empire that tried to dominate others has fallen," he said quietly. "We learned that from history, from our wars, from our mistakes, but the Council never learned." Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, deep space probes from the Seraph cluster picked up strange energy waves. They were coming from Earth, strong enough to disturb hyperspace routes. The Council panicked, thinking humans were preparing another weapon, but Liren of Seraph only watched in silence. "She's awakening," she whispered. "The sleeping world is awakening." Back on Earth, the Ark Core expanded its reach. Massive networks across the planet came alive. Old satellites from the 21st century began to broadcast again. Signals filled with encrypted codes older than human language. The stars themselves seemed to flicker in response. Admiral Chen entered the chamber, her voice tense. "Sir, alien fleets are reforming," she said. "They're calling for an armistice. They want negotiations." Marcus didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the Ark Core. "Do they understand now?" he asked quietly. Chen hesitated. "Maybe, sir, but they're afraid." Marcus sighed. "Fear is the beginning of understanding," he said. "But it's not enough." He turned to his command console. "Prepare the broadcast." Minutes later, every comm channel across the galaxy flickered. Screens, projectors, even neural links, all of them displayed one single image. A human figure standing before the glowing heart of the Ark. It was General Marcus Hale. His voice calm, measured, and terrifyingly certain. "You wanted to know who we are," he said. "You thought we were children playing with fire. But long before your empires rose, something ancient chose us. It taught us, shaped us, and warned us that one day the stars would turn against us." His eyes glowed faintly from the core's light. "You call us dangerous," he continued, "but danger is what the galaxy created. For centuries, we held peace, we shared knowledge, we built bridges. But when you came for our home, you awakened something older than mercy." Across the galaxy, countless species watched in silence. For the first time, they saw not just humanity, but the power behind them. And deep within every alien heart, a single thought grew. If this was what humans could do with restraint, what would happen if they truly unleashed themselves? As the transmission ended, the Ark Core pulsed one last time, then it fell silent again. Dr. Evelyn turned to Marcus, her voice soft. "Did we just start something we can't control?" Marcus looked at the quiet machine and whispered, "No, Doctor. We just reminded the galaxy that humanity was never meant to be controlled." The rising fear panic spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Worlds that once stood proud under the Council's banner now trembled. Their citizens whispered the same question in every market, every port, every dark corner of space. What is Earth? The news networks tried to calm them, but the truth was too large to hide. Every probe sent near human space vanished. Every fleet that tried to monitor Earth simply disappeared from the radar. It was as if humanity had drawn a line across the stars. Saying no further, in the council chamber, the once grand hall was filled with chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices desperate and fearful. "The humans are building something," one cried. "They're awakening weapons we cannot detect," another shouted. The speaker slammed his hand against the table. "Enough," he roared, though his voice carried no strength anymore. Ambassador Terral, who once called for Earth's invasion, sat in silence, his eyes hollow, his pride gone. "They didn't destroy us out of anger," he muttered. "They did it out of disappointment." Across the table, Liren of Seraph looked at him calmly. "Perhaps they spared us out of mercy," she said. "The question is, how long will that mercy last?" Meanwhile, on the outer edges of human-controlled space, a strange silence spread. Alien traders who once crossed Earth's borders now refused to approach, but a few brave ones, driven by curiosity, tried. And what they found changed everything. They didn't find destruction. They found order. Human stations were calm, efficient, welcoming even, but behind the smiles and politeness, there was something else, a quiet, unshakable confidence, a sense that humans were watching everything everywhere. On one of those stations, an alien captain named Vorak landed his freighter. He was nervous, expecting soldiers or interrogation. Instead, a young human officer greeted him with a calm smile. "Welcome to Earth Trade Outpost 7, she said. "How can we help you?" Vorak blinked, confused. "You are allowing trade." The officer nodded. "We allow peace, Captain. But we remember everything." That last sentence made his scales crawl. He left quickly, carrying with him a story that spread faster than any rumor. The humans had no anger, no fear, no need for revenge, because they no longer saw the galaxy as a threat. They saw it as a lesson. Back on Earth, the War Council met again. Admiral Chen entered the command chamber, her face tense. "Sir," she said, "several council worlds have sent private messages." Marcus looked up. "Peace proposals?" Chen shook her head. "No, sir, alliances." The room went silent. "Alliances," Marcus repeated slowly. She nodded. "They no longer trust their own council. They want protection from other species." Marcus leaned back, thoughtful. "The galaxy is turning on itself," he said quietly. "And we haven't even moved a single fleet." Dr. Evelyn Cross entered moments later, holding a data pad. "The arc core readings are stabilizing," she said. "It's adapting to our network." Marcus looked at her. "Does that mean it's awake?" Evelyn hesitated. "Not fully, but it's learning again." For a long moment, Marcus said nothing. He just stared at the glowing hologram of Earth, spinning slowly in the air. "When they voted to invade us," he said softly, "they united humanity." He turned toward his officers, his voice colder than before. "But now, they've united something far greater. Across the galaxy, fear turned into movement. Empires that once stood together under the Council began to split apart. Some prepared to surrender to Earth, others began building new weapons, desperate to catch up, and a few, the most dangerous ones, began whispering in secret. "If we cannot control the humans, we must destroy them completely." But deep down, even those who plotted knew it was impossible. Humanity had grown beyond their reach. Their fleets moved unseen. Their technology evolved faster than any could track. And yet, despite all of that, humans made no move to conquer. They simply waited, watched, and built. Ambassador Liren watched the chaos unfold from her homeworld. Her advisors asked, "What do we do?" She answered softly, "We learn," because she knew something the others didn't. Humans did not need to conquer the galaxy. The galaxy would destroy itself trying to understand them. The final message: the galaxy had changed. The Great Council no longer ruled the stars. It only tried to survive. Empires that once boasted of power now whispered in fear, because every shadow, every signal, every silence reminded them of one name: Earth. Weeks passed, then months. But humanity stayed quiet. Their fleets didn't attack. Their armies didn't invade. They simply waited. And the waiting scared the galaxy more than any weapon could. Ambassador Lyren sat in her quarters, watching the stars outside her window. Her world had stayed neutral since the war, but every day she received new messages, worlds begging for help, leaders begging for forgiveness. And one message came from Earth itself, marked with a single phrase. The final council, the meeting was set, not in the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, but on a neutral space station orbiting a dying star. Only 12 representatives were invited, among them Lyren, Terral, and the speaker himself. When they arrived, they found no human guards, no weapons, only silence and a single message waiting. The screen lit up, and the face of General Marcus Hale appeared, older, calmer, but still carrying the same cold authority. "Members of the Council," he began, "this is not a declaration of war. This is the end of one." He paused, his eyes steady. "Humanity will not join your council. We will not conquer your worlds, and we will not demand tribute. We ask for only one thing. Remember." The speaker frowned. "Remember what?" Marcus leaned forward, his voice low and heavy. "Remember that mercy is not weakness. Remember that peace is not submission. And remember that humanity does not forget." Behind him, the image of Earth appeared, glowing blue, wrapped in light. "This planet," Marcus said, "once dreamed of unity, but your fear turned our dreams into walls. You voted to invade us, and in doing so, you revealed what your council truly was. A mirror showing everything wrong with the galaxy." He stood, the Arcor's glow flickering behind him like a rising sun. "Now the Age of Empires is over," he said. "The Age of Survival begins. The Ark will awaken soon, and its knowledge will spread across the stars, not as a weapon, but as a choice." The speaker looked uneasy. "A choice," Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "A choice between fear and understanding. If the galaxy chooses fear again, we will not stop it, but we will not save it either." The screen flickered, and for a moment they saw what lay beyond Earth. Thousands of ships, silent, black, ancient, waiting in deep orbit. Not just human ships, but something older, something built from the Ark itself. Then the transmission ended, leaving only darkness. No one spoke for a long time. Even Terral, once loud and proud, remained silent. Lyren finally whispered, "They are giving us a chance." The speaker turned to her. "A chance for what?" She looked out at the stars, her voice trembling. "A chance to prove we deserve to share the galaxy with them." Back on Earth, Marcus watched the transmission end. Dr. Evelyn stood beside him. "Do you think they'll listen?" she asked. Marcus smiled faintly, his eyes on the stars. "Some will," he said, "some never will." He turned to her. "But that's the nature of life, isn't it, Evelyn?" She nodded slowly. "And the Ark?" she asked. "What happens when it fully awakens?" Marcus's gaze hardened. "Then the galaxy will finally see the truth," he said. "That humanity was never the threat. We were the test, far beyond the Sol system." As the last echoes of the message spread through the void, the stars flickered again. Some said it was just interference. Others said it was the Ark waking up. But those who had seen the truth knew better. It was Earth speaking, quietly, patiently, like a teacher waiting for its students to learn. And in the silence of space, one final message appeared on every channel. "This is Earth Command," it said. "We will watch, we will remember, and when the stars are ready, we will return." The transmission faded, leaving behind only the endless hum of the galaxy, and for the first time in history, every world, from the oldest empire to the smallest colony, looked toward Earth not with hatred, but with awe, because they finally understood. The Council once ruled the stars through fear, but humanity had ruled their hearts through truth, and the truth was eternal.